Hello military friends. Welcome back to the Military OZI channel. This time we will discuss about Airmen turn C-5 into huge floating gas station with refueling experiment. At 247 feet long and with a 222-foot wingspan, the C-5M Super Galaxy is the largest aircraft in the U.S. military, and, as a crew at Travis Air Force Base recently proved in the skies over Northern California and Oregon, America's largest flying gas station. On December 12, a Travis crew tried out a process called reverse flow air refueling between a C-5 and a KC-10 extender tanker. Instead of the gas flowing out of the tanker and into the receiving aircraft through the refueling boom as it usually does, the gas went up the other way from the C-5, through the boom and into the KC-10. Normally reserved for emergencies, this was the first time the technique had been tried with the C-5 since the aircraft was first designed in the 1960s. Airmen with the 22nd Airlift Squadron wanted to see how it worked with the C-5M, the modernized version in use since 2006. The whole reason behind doing this was to get some baseline data. Major Justin Wilson, the squadron's chief of standards and evaluations and C-5M evaluator pilot, told Air and Space Forces magazine. Now we can see what other scenarios we can use this in. Air Force planners are preparing for a possible conflict against China, where the branch's aerial refueling tankers would be hard-pressed to help the rest of the military's aviation fleet cross the vast Pacific Ocean. If a C-5 could ferry gas to a tanker, it could keep more tankers in circulation, Wilson said. By using a C-5 as a huge floating gas station, it allows more tankers to be positioned for offloading to fighter or mobility aircraft, versus having to use one tanker to refuel another, which takes away a tanker asset from the mission, he explained in a press release. This allows more tanker aircraft in the theater and extends their range or orbit time. The operation was an unusual one for the crew, and especially for the flight engineers who ran through the checklists and operated the fuel panel in order to push gas through the C-5's various tanks. As gas moves through and leaves the aircraft, it shifts the jet's center of gravity, which requires constant monitoring and communication with the flight deck. The center of gravity affects how to handle the jet, how efficiently it flies through the air, and other factors as the pilots work to keep the massive plane connected to the tanker. Despite the challenges, the flight was a success, with the C-5 offloading 23,500 pounds of fuel, about the weight of 2 African elephants, in approximately 30 minutes. By comparison, a tanker can offload 6,000 to 7,000 pounds a minute depending on the aircraft, Wilson said. But the point was not to prove the C-5 is more efficient than a tanker. Instead, it was to prove the operation could be done, to see how much gas could be moved, and how quickly the C-5 could.